I was talking with some couple friends recently, and they let me know that they were getting divorced. The reason they gave me was something that is actually a surprisingly common but poorly known silent killer of relationships. So I want to talk to you about it now to help you avoid the same fate. I'm Janelle Elias, and I help high performing couples or couples with high demand lives avoid feeling like distant roommates, restore intimacy, and build real, lasting growth. So let's jump into it. Here's a bit of tough love. Our romantic partners are not responsible for our happiness. And it's not being a good spouse to be our personal clowns either. There's a common misconception that is passed down in popular music, movies, and shows that says if our partner is a good boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever, they would cheer us up when we're feeling down. They would intuitively just pick up on the fact that we're not feeling 100% and just go out of their way to bring our favorite coffee drink or chocolate or do something to sweeten or lighten up our days. While that is such a sweet gesture that even I would love from time to time, the danger with falling for this overly romanticized belief is that it then becomes part of an unspoken, impossible standard that most of the times our romantic partners will probably fail to meet. Consider it this way, especially for my busy, high performing individuals. Have you ever had a day where you had multiple fires to put out, more interruptions than you can count, and the day flew by so fast that you blinked and it was 7 o'clock at night and you just realized you forgot to eat anything all day? Sometimes, as life tends to do, we can just get so engrossed in everything that we have going on or just trying to survive the day that we don't even remember to meet basic needs for ourselves, much less do we stop to think about the feelings or thoughts of anyone else. And it's not because we're selfish, it's because we're human and we're doing the best that we can. Maybe today was just not a winner. Now, imagine if on top of that kind of day, you get home and your loved one tells you that they're disappointed in you because you should have noticed that they were having an off morning as you were heading out the door. It's already late for your first meeting, by the way, and you not once texted to ask them why they were feeling that way. They might say something like, "It's like you don't even care about me. Do you even still love me at all?" Now, on top of dealing with your stressors back at the company, now you have a heaping pile of guilt and shame for not being able to read minds while you were already feeling stretched thin. Situations like this are how the home becomes a war zone, or how spouses start trying to find ways of extending their work hours or looking for any excuse to avoid being home at all. Understand that this isn't really a blaming statement. It's not our fault that we've been fed these stories about the magically all knowing, attentive, romantic partner, and that somehow that is what true love should look like and act like. But as a result of that ideology, we end up unintentionally setting them up for failure and ourselves for disappointments and dissatisfaction in the relationship long term. When I tell this to couples, though, sometimes I get back well, my partner does do some of those things. Or, so what? I'm just supposed to settle for the bare minimum effort? Understand that the pitfalls lie in the extremes. A spouse who never attends to our needs or never does anything sweet or considerate risks leaving us feeling unloved or uncared for. But one who goes above and beyond to constantly be attending to even the smallest of our needs without fail risks dropping the ball on their own self care needs. Just giving and giving and giving until they're all spent and have nothing left to give for themselves is not really the answer either. So, yeah, we can have some of that from our partners on occasion, but anything that is taken to an extreme has the capacity to become unhealthy, toxic, or do more harm than good. On top of that, there's still the fact that there are some needs that our partner cannot meet. It's impossible. Example, if I'm not happy with something about my life, no one can create my happiness for me. Even if my husband wanted to cheer me up or make me happy or fix it for me, it would be a flawed, imperfect happiness because it would always be depending on him being there for me. And the minute he's not around, I'd be back to feeling empty or sad again. Some of our needs, our spouse isn't even capable of meeting for us. no matter how good the intentions are. Not that it's healthy anyway. There's a concept in psychology referred to as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let me show it to you. I've already got it pre-drawn here, but the gist of it is that this pyramid represents the level of human needs that we tend to have in this order of priorities. The base of the pyramid is our physiological needs. That includes things like our need to eat, sleep, drink water, breathe, have clothes on our backs, things like that. We often have to have this baseline level of needs met before we can really care too much about some of the other levels. Once our physiological needs are at least bare minimum met, then the next level up are our safety needs. That's literally the need to be safe, to not be in a war torn country or have anyone like invading our home or anything like that, but also being stable in our employment or our health not being at risk. Once that need for safety is at least bare minimum met, then we are able to focus to the next level of love and belonging. And that's things like our need to have friendships and our need for family or loved ones, or at least the need to feel accepted for who we are. If these needs are at least, again, the bare minimum met, then we're able to focus on the next level, which is esteem. Our need to feel respected, our self esteem, to have some form of status, even just among the people who matter most to us. Recognition for the work that we're doing or for something that we did well, achievements, that kind of thing. And finally, in the classic version of this pyramid, we have the absolute top, which is self actualization. That's the need to reach our full potential or to become the highest, best version of ourselves. The reason I'm showing you this is because I wanted to give you a visual representation of the various levels of needs that we all have. You see, as people, we need to first make sure that our most basic needs are met before we can even begin to focus on or wrap our heads around higher levels of needs like personal growth or the need to feel like we're contributing meaningfully to society. That's part of the reason why, in my earlier example, we might not have had the headspace to stop and think about our spouse, how they might be doing, what could put a smile on their face if we're busy just surviving our chaotic days. Even though we might otherwise absolutely be willing to do that for them another time. Becoming aware of the different types of needs is the first step for us towards that personal awareness into what is missing in our lives in order to then know what next steps we have. So let's start taking back mastery of our own fates by building the life that we want for ourselves. Is there something that we're not happy about or are missing in our lives? Let's take a look at that, look within, make a plan, take action steps to do something about it. One of the biggest ones is our energy. If you find yourself burning out and not having the mental, emotional, or physical energy to get through the week, much less put effort into our relationship, it might be a sign that you're not protecting your energy. Is it work? Start looking for what kind of career changes we can make. Is it your health? Make a plan for how we're going to start eating better, getting more sleep, exercising more, or seeking medical treatments for the underlying health conditions that we might have if necessary. Once you start reclaiming the energy to get what you need to out of your day or your week, you'll see a drastic improvement in overall life satisfaction before a romantic partner even begins to be part of the equation. Hot tip, if you are single, nothing is quite as attractive as someone who's fully on top of their life goals and actively working on knocking them out of the park. Even if you aren't single, that still applies. You remember my couple friends that I mentioned earlier? Here is where it went wrong for them that I want you to try and avoid. One of them was so razor focused on their personal growth and kicking butt that they accidentally left their spouse behind in the process. This friend was so aware that they are in charge of their own successes and failures that they were like, okay, what's next? What do I need to do to push myself and to grow and build the life that I want for myself? Meanwhile, the spouse wasn't in that kind of a go getter mindset. They felt a bit more stuck in life and not really sure how to rise up out of their funk. They kind of started lagging behind when it came to those life needs and goals that only we can fulfill for ourselves. And the couple ended up drifting apart because one of them was stagnant while the other was moving forward in their goals. Again, I'm not assigning blame here. It happens a lot more often than you'd think for subtle reasons that might surprise you. Our road to self improvement doesn't have to be a lonely one. This is an excellent opportunity to lean on some of those strengths and skill sets that our partners naturally have. Do you have a fixer at home? You know, the one that you're constantly asking to stop trying to fix the problem and just listen? Turn to them and ask this time what they think you should do about a certain goal or problem you're working on. It doesn't mean you have to do the recommendation they're giving, but they will feel way more invested in seeing you succeed if they were part of the process too. Do you have a deep thinker at home instead? Including them in the brainstorm process or the research stage might be really helpful. Do they have a certain talent or skill obtained maybe through work or a passion of theirs? Find a way to make it relevant and consult them on it. They'll have a chance to share their knowledge, and you get to see them in their element, talking about something they feel passionate about. Doesn't that kind of remind you guys when you were first dating? Even if you don't think they have a relevant skill, chances are they've got a good head on their shoulders or are maybe handy with some kind of tool, or they might just surprise you with some of the ways that they could support you. You never know until you approach them with the problem. I just did this the other day when I was feeling a little bit down. I was venting to my husband, and usually now, after almost 10 years of marriage, he knows better than to try and fix the problem. But this time I did ask him, so what would you do if you were me? You gave me some pretty good ideas, but we really hit the nail on the head when he helped me realize that between the kids and the business and other commitments, I've been dropping the ball lately on almost any personal activity that one would usually use for coping or after a stressful week. So we brainstormed some options, and now I will be taking some K pop dance lessons, and I mean, I love dance from ballroom to Latin dance, kizomba, Brazilian funk. Let's go. I'm really excited. And I would not have even thought about doing anything like that had I not included my husband in my problem solving. There are other ways as well to include our significant others so that we're going together without pressuring anyone in a way that would actually backfire instead. Now, helping couples implement this concept is one of the things that I do with my couples in the coaching sessions because it's always such a unique case by case thing. But I'll give you one more example in case maybe this inspires any ideas for you. When I first went into business for myself, I was learning and growing so much as one is almost kind of forced to do when you're in that position. I noticed that my husband was happy and stable in his job, which meant that he didn't really feel the need to do anything to grow or improve himself. I mean, why would he? He wasn't the one being pushed out of his comfort zone the way I was. But I knew that this wasn't good for relationships, not to mention that one of my needs for my own relationship involves being with someone who is as dedicated to personal growth as I am. So we talked about it. I didn't want to pressure him to have to change or do anything he wasn't comfortable with. So I found small ways that he could help me as the supportive, loving partner that he is. We settled on a number of books that I had been recommended, and they would have taken me a long time to read through on my own, but with his help, we were able to split the reading list with both of us reporting back any nuggets that we found interesting. It was a great exercise because it also gave us a common goal and a project to work on together. And it definitely had us feeling closer to each other with each check in and swap of information. It actually wasn't long before some of the ideas in the business books that he was reading inspired some of his own entrepreneurial concepts and ideas. And suddenly he was coming up with future business goals of his own. That wasn't the intention, but it was a very pleasant side effect. Your takeaway for this week is to catch the times when either you might be unintentionally placing an unfair burden on your partner to meet a need that might actually belong to us, and times when maybe our partner might be putting that kind of responsibility on us when it doesn't belong there. Make a plan for how to meet some of those personal needs ourselves, and maybe think of some ways that we can include our spouses in that if they're willing to. Next week, I'll be doing the final message for this 7-part series on things we can do right now to improve our relationships. I also go live every second Tuesday of the month to answer questions, less more often than that when I can. So make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel to be notified of when that next video comes up or the next time that I go live. If you're having any trouble implementing any of these concepts, attending the live sessions with your questions is a great opportunity for me to try to help with that. So you've got your homework, and I'll talk to you again soon.